Hi guys, welcome to your 9-6 notes on the quadratic formula and the discriminant. By the end of the day, you will be able to solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. You'll also be able to use the discriminant to find how many solutions a quadratic equation has, like that. So remember that a quadratic is in standard form if it's in the following, if it's in the following form. Remember, any polynomial is in standard form where the exponents are in decreasing order. So you start with the biggest one, and they just go down until you have a normal number, and then we'll say it's equal to 0. So that'll be some number a plus another times x squared plus another number b times x plus some other number. So we start out with ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. For example, here we have a, b, and c. So our 4 is our 8 term, b is -9, and c is 10. Now if you have a quadratic in standard form, then you can use a formula to help you find the solutions. There's a fun song that helps you remember it, so follow this link right here. It's great and I love it. It's one of my favorite things ever. It's to the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel. So here's the quadratic formula. It goes like this. You go x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, like that. So if you know your a, you plug him in right here on top and on bottom. If you know b, he's the rock star. He's the star of the show, really. He's out in front and he gets squared. And then c is that guy who's always off to the side. Who's like, oh yeah, I'm here too. Right back there. So there it is. There's the quadratic formula. Now you can use the quadratic formula to solve literally any quadratic ever. So let's do this. You need to rewrite the quadratic formula every single time. I just copied and pasted it. I recommend that you rewrite it using the song, but I just did that 4 times. Now, the most important thing of your quadratic formula is to identify your A term, your B term, and your C term. Once you have those, you simply plug it right in. So you have x equals -3. Oh, I messed up already. X equals -3 plus or this is taking too long. X equals -3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times -5 all over 2 times 2. Okay, well, I just switched it up. Why did I do that? Because check it out. I substituted 3 in for B. I substituted 2 in for A, on top and bottom. And I substituted -5 in for C. And once we have that, we could just clean it up. Because guys, guess what? This is what X is. Yay, that's our solution. But that's also super gross. So let's clean it up. The first step I always like to take is simplifying the exponent, because we're going to follow PEMDAS as we simplify this expression. There's hidden little parentheses here under the square root, so we need to simplify that square root first. In that parentheses, we have an exponent. So I'm going to say that 3 squared. I'm going to swap that out for a 9. Then I'm going to look at that multiplication right there, and I'm going to do all of those all at the same time. I see 4 times 2, which is 8. And now we have -8 times -5, which is a positive 40. So we'll clear all that out, plus 40, like that. Alternatively, if you did 2 times 5 is 10, times 4, you still get 40. So that's exciting. And then one more thing I'm going to clean up on this step. 2 times 2 is 4. Cool. Now it's very important that you show your work. Do not Yeah, I'll get there later. So we're going to bring this all down on another step. 9 plus 40 is 49. Shocking. I know. So speaking of cleaning things up, we can shorten this. We don't need these parentheses anymore. We can shorten this division bar as well. Okay. Good. Now we can clean this up just a little bit more. -3 plus or minus the square root of, you don't need this guy. Square root of 49, 7. Yay! Okay, cool. So now we've cleaned that expression up really nice, which I love. But we're not quite done. Before we move on, though, notice how I showed steps all the way down here. I didn't hop immediately from here to here. Make sure you're showing all the little steps out so we can see how you're working. Oops. Okay, cool. That said, what do we do with this plus or minus awesomeness that we have going on? Well, whenever we have a plus or minus symbol, this is an equal sign that got cut off. Whenever we have this plus or minus guy right here, that tells us to split our equation into a plus side and a minus side. We make Miley Cyrus proud by taking the best of both worlds. Here on the negative, we get just a negative, so chill it out, take it slow, and then get a positive perspective and rock out that show. So we're left with -3 plus 7 over 4 and -3 minus 7 over 4. -3 plus 7 is a 4. 4 over 4 is 1. Awesome. On this side we have -3 minus 7, which is -10 over, 4. -10 over 4 simplifies to -5 halves. And I like to leave it like that. If you want to do a decimal, knock yourself out. Physically. Not physically. Knock yourself out. What's the word? Figuratively. Anyway, it's great. Okay, so there you go. So what is this equal to? Well, let's trace our equal signs all the way back, x. Final solution, x equals 1 and -5 halves. Awesome. That's how you use the quadratic formula. X equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Cool. But what if it doesn't look like that? What if that doesn't look like my beautiful artwork right here? That's not in the same form. I don't have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So I can't plug it in to my quadratic formula, right? Wrong. Because sometimes you don't have what you need, but you can go find it. I can make this look like this by subtracting 2x on both sides. Check me out. Okay, and that gives me x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. Oh, now I've got a 1. My a term is 1. My b term is -2. My c term is -8. Haha! Cool beans! So now I can plug it into my awesome formula. X equals -1. Nope, I lied. Man, I shouldn't do that. X equals -2 plus or minus the square root. -2 squared minus 4, 1, -8. All over 2, 1. Ha! I write really messy when I'm trying to sing at the same time. Okay, so again, we plugged in -2 gives us a +2. Got -2 squared. Times 1 times 1 times -8. Now let's clean it up. That positive on our 2 is just extra. We don't need it. -2 squared is a +4. 4 times 1 times -8 is a +32. Cool beans. 2 times 1 is just 2. which is great. It's just too cool for a school. 4 plus 32 gives us a 36. And square root of 36 is 6. So we have 2 plus or minus 6 all over 2. Cool. Well, what do we do with this plus or minus? Gross. We get the best of both worlds. Chill it out, take it slow. Then you rock out the show. So we have 2 plus 6 over 2, which is 8 over 2, which is 4. Then we get 2 minus 6 over 2, which is negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2. Isn't that so nice? That's so cool. But guys, that took a lot of steps. So yes, we know that x equals 4 and x equals negative 2, but that took a long time. Well, I could have just looked at this normal equation right here, what we started with, and said, oh, I've seen this before. I'm looking for a number that adds to negative 2 and multiplies to negative 8. And by a number, I mean 2 numbers that do that. And I know those numbers are going to be negative 4 and positive 2. And then I can split it up and solve it by factoring. So now that I know that's equal to 0, I can solve it, which is super way faster. So that brings us to our key idea of the day. Key idea of the day is save yourself some time. Save yourself some time by following these 5 easy steps for solving quadratic equations. We've gone over several different methods. Let me show you the best method for each way. If you have a graphing calculator, that is, you have a machine who will do this for you, then by all means, graph it. And then it'll tell you the solutions. If the equation has no x term, that is, you have like x, like 3x squared minus 8 equals 0. Cool. Then solve by taking square roots. That specific example is going to come out really gross, but solve by taking square roots. That is, you add 8 to both sides and then divide by 3. So you'll get x is the square root of 8/3, like that. If you can factor the equation easily, then by all means, factor it. Square roots and factoring are the 2 fastest ways, besides graphing, but graphing calculators are hard to find. So yes, square root it, factor it. It's amazing. If you can't factor it easily, you can go with completing the square. But completing the square is tricky because you really only want to do it when you have like an x squared that has a 1 in front. If the numbers are super gross, then use the quadratic formula. I hardly ever complete the square because it takes just about the same amount of time as doing the quadratic formula, and apparently it's easier to spell. Quadratic formula, whatever. Completing the square and the quadratic formula take a long time. Quadratic formula always works, and you get to sing a fun song. The bonus with completing the square is it helps you find the vertex. So that's super cool. So this is here to make your life easier. Quadratic formula will solve all of your quadratics ever. Now here is a fun shortcut. 2 fun math facts and a fun shortcut. Let's take a look at the quadratic formula one more time. Take a look at this bad boy right here. So good, right? It's actually just a combination of 2 things. The first part of the quadratic formula, this outside part, You've seen that before. When you have x equals negative b over 2a, that will tell you the axis of symmetry. Okay, so what are we left with? Oh, not the square root. I'm sorry, not the square root. Just, this part. Okay. B squared minus 4ac is a special number, a special value that we call the discriminant. And the discriminant comes in clutch when you want to find out just how many solutions your system has without actually doing hard work. It's the shortcut for finding the number of solutions down here. Okay. So in each of these guys, we're going to figure out what is the discriminant and then how many solutions do we have. Okay. So here, our discriminant is, B, how do I want to do this? B here, A, I didn't have enough colors, meh, and C is our last term. Okay, so our discriminant of B squared minus 4AC is 1 squared minus 4, nope, I lied. It's negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 7. That's 36 minus 28 is 8. Now, since our discriminant is a positive number, we have 2 solutions. 1, 2. Cool. When our discriminant is, let's see, what do we have? Our A is 1, our B is negative 6, and our C is 9. Hey, look, I did that on purpose. Look, they're all the same. Our A is 1, our C is negative 6, our B is negative 6, our C is 11. So that means every time we're just going to be changing our C. That was so cool, huh? Yoink. Yoink. Okay. So negative B minus 4 times A times C gives us a 36 minus, oh hey, twinning, is 0. So when you have a 0 as your discriminant, like literally it has to be 0, then you will have 1 solution. That vertex will be right on the graph, right on that x-axis right there. However, if your discriminant turns out like 36 minus 44, negative 8, if your discriminant turns out to be a negative, you will have no solution. Cool, huh? So you don't have to go through the whole thing. You don't have to spend the time to graph it. You don't have to do all this work on your quadratic formula to find out, oh, I had no solution the whole time. Check your discriminant first, because your discriminant tells you how many solutions you have. So there it is, shortcuts of the day, and I hope you have a wonderful time on your homework singing the song the whole day long.